Well, hello there, and welcome to A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. Sometimes I choose my films based on, sometimes of course it's based on what's popular, sometimes it's sort of coordinating with a popular new release, throwing back to an older release, and sometimes it is just simply the fact that I am interested in a certain filmmaker or actor, and often, as I've mentioned, there are films that I have recent releases that for whatever reason I've missed and want to catch before it completely goes out of my head, particularly sort of small indie releases like BlackBear. Now, BlackBear, the only thing that I knew about BlackBear going in really was that it was an Aubrey Plaza-led drama, and frankly, beyond that, I didn't know much about it, and in fact, I was instructed not to know much about it because it's not it's the kind of film that you're supposed to approach from a, you're not reading a plot doesn't improve your experience of it, or reading a synopsis doesn't help your experience of it, because it's the kind of film that is more about mood and feeling than it is about really plot mechanics. And so this came out towards the end of last year. Didn't watch it at the time, but I sort of made a mental note to make sure I would catch it. And I'm interested in these films that are, this isn't the first film even of this project really that I've done where it covers. It's sort of is an analysis of the actor's experience whilst also being sort of a meta-textual look at the filmmaking process. Throwing back, it has echoes of sort of the strange sort of deconstructive nature of I'm thinking of ending things, whilst also having the sort of the conversations and the relationships that go all the way back to when I did Malcolm and Marie. It's very much in keeping with those kinds of films. As I said, I came into this because I'm really interested in Aubrey Plaza as an actress. I think she's an actress who initially started as sort of your traditional kooky girl, sort of Zooey Deschanel type comedy romance actress, and should either be in a romantic comedy or in a big zany kooky comedy style. But as her career has progressed and changed, we've really seen her trying stranger and more experimental filmmaking. Now, of course, she does still do, your Hollywood, like she recently was in the remake of Child's Play. And so it's not like she's averse to that kind of storytelling, but Aubrey Plaza is the kind of actress who you want to see in something a bit weird, I suppose, for lack of a better term. To be in something more like I'm a thinking of ending things type of film, because and so when I see her name come up with a film that isn't a sort of mainstream or a blockbustery or a playing to the stools type comedy, I'm interested because I'm interested in seeing her experiment, and that might not always work out. I've definitely covered here films that were actors or directors experimenting and it's not really come together. And, the whole point of sort of doing these kinds of projects and these kinds of films is that sometimes it's more about the journey and sort of what one learns internally than it is about the final product that is being released. You could even say that about this project itself. This project I'm doing is almost that experience. And so, when it comes to BlackBear, there's very little to say about it because it's not really, as I said up top, it's not a film where I can say, well, the premise is this and this is sort of the plotting of it, because the basic plotting I suppose, just as sort of as an intro, is the fact that it follows Aubrey Plaza is a writer who goes up to a cabin where a couple played by, what was it, Sarah Gadon and Christopher Abbott. Sarah Gadon and Christopher Abbott are a couple. Sarah Gadon's character is pregnant, and they essentially host like artists and filmmakers and people. It's sort of a retreat for creative types to work. But you can already see the tension in their relationship. And then over the course of this first evening, when she arrives, you're seeing sort of the fractures in the couple's dynamic, and the fact that she's this sort of unknown, slightly dangerous, slightly seductive entity that's threatening them even further, although it's sort of whether it's sort of they were already in danger before, and she's a catalyst, it's unclear, but you get that sense of this is a three-hander between these people, and it's very much a long-form discussion about primarily feminism and gender roles, and, you know, people whose lives aren't what they expected, and the way that their politics can sort of reflect the other person. You know, so you have Sarah Gadon's character, who is this, you know, pregnant homemaker type character, and you have Aubrey Plaza's character, who is a, you know, free-spirited, independent woman, you know, career woman, who it's unclear whether she has a husband or not. By the nature of the narrative, she says she does, and then she says she doesn't. It's vague, but they both resent each other's lives, or at least you're given that impression that, you know, Sarah Gadon strongly is fighting. You know, goes on this huge sort of statement about sort of feminism and the importance of it, and the fact that Christopher Abbott's character, she resents him because he is, you know, he's on the cusp of being anti-feminist. And then you have Aubrey Plaza's character, who seems to suggest that she's actually not, and she's sort of being the cool girl type, almost to seduce Christopher Abbott, or to seduce Christopher Abbott. And so you have this dynamic, and you have these things playing off against each other, and it leads to a big climax. And that's part one of the film. And then you get to part two. And frankly, the only way I can discuss part two is by essentially spoiling the sort of strange conceit of this. And so this is the point in which one should jump off, because it really does change the whole film from this point on. But part two, so that's the warning. Part two is the same film, or the same setting, but what you learn is this is now the film BlackBear being made. That is to say, so it's harder to even do because there are huge changes now, but this is now the filming process of making the film we have just watched. However, in this reality, or in this version, Aubrey Plaza and Sarah Gadon's characters have swapped. Christopher Abbott is the director, he is not the character he was playing. Aubrey Plaza and Christopher Abbott are in a relationship, quote unquote, in real life, as in the actress and the director are married, but he is very abusive and very manipulative towards her, and it's all under the sort of guise of to get a good performance out of her. But it's, you know, the way that he verbally abuses and humiliates her in front of the crew is horrifying. And that, as well, is that he's also creating a affair with Sarah Gadon, that he and Sarah Gadon are pretending, quote unquote, to have an affair because he believes it will further enhance Aubrey Plaza's performance experience. And it's become such a different film because the dynamics have shifted. All of a sudden, you see the same sort of triangle of dynamics, but now all the roles have shifted. And then you've got this entire crew around them as well, and you're seeing sort of the crew having to manage this and reacting to it, and they each have, relationships with members of the crew, but ultimately it's still just about them three. And again, it becomes an analysis of the filmmaking process and the creative process and the ideas of, how far someone is willing to go and how far they are willing to trust their partner and their director to push them to give a great performance. And it becomes this sort of meta-textual analysis of the filmmaking process and of the creative process and of the way, how does an actor truly be an actor, etc., etc. And so it sort of then is a deconstruction. It's no longer, one would almost make the argument, it's no longer a film, it's a deconstruction of film, just within the conceit of also being a drama, because Aubrey Plaza and Christopher Abbott are not in a real relationship, and they are not, it's unclear if they're even playing, I don't believe they're playing themselves, they're still playing characters, but those characters are not, they have different names than the characters they were playing in the first section. But you can see how meta and sort of tied up in itself that this is, and so it's not really a film that I would recommend necessarily for someone who, a popcorn film. Like Malcolm and Marie, it's possibly a film that you would show to an acting class or to a filmmaking class, because it allows you to sort of reconsider the creative process and your approach to the creative process, and on some level sort of the question of professionalism on a set, and the ways that you can create toxic environments on sets. But then it's not a million miles away from Michael Keating's Birdman, where Birdman is about the acting process, but I mean in theatre, and about the dynamics and the ways you work and the creative process, etc., etc. But Birdman still probably feels more like a film. This, I can't say it feels like a film entirely. There are weird and interesting things. I haven't even talked about the Black Bear, because, frankly, I haven't even got my head around what the Black Bear is, because in the original film, part 1, there is a black bear, literally, in the film, sort of roaming around in this wood. And then the same black bear appears in part 2, not as part of the filmmaking, it is just a bear that is in the wood. And clearly the bear is a metaphor. I will confess, and this is one of the rare occasions that, because this is a new release and I haven't given myself time to read about it, and this is something I tried to go in as, with as little foreknowledge as possible, I don't know what the black bear means. I don't know what it symbolises. I have ideas about what it symbolises, but they're very unformed, because this film is the kind of film that you want to sort of sit with and go, well, it's practically a forum film. You almost want to sit with a group of students and say, well, what did you think this meant and this meant? And, and the nature of repeating patterns, and the idea that, the beginning of a film and the end of a film tie in, and the cyclical relationship, and the idea of, was this whole experience real, or is this all just part of the creative process of a writer? Sort of, and the fact that Lawrence Levine is both the writer and director, and you get that sense of, is this an internal journey for him? What does this mean for him as a creative person? It's all very sort of tied up in itself. And I don't know if people will love it because of that, because I think even I'm sort of sitting on it going, well, I'm intrigued and interested, and it's left me with thinking about things, but I don't know whether it's the sort of thing that I would say is... See, I do think it's worthwhile, because it's left me thinking about it, and there are some really good dramatic moments. And as I say, Aubrey Plaza is an actress who I'm interested in seeing, and she does do some really interesting things in this film. It's so strange, and such a what is this for type of film that I'm leaving thinking, okay, I definitely need to sit with this, and I may at some point need to re-watch it just to sort of get my head around, okay, what am I taking away from this? What experience was this for me? But yeah, it's interesting seeing a film like this every now and then, just because, again, I like the meta, and I like the idea of self-examination and the creative process, and of course it allows me to reflect on this creative process, or myself as a creator who is someone who is an actor, and a person who works in the creative fields. But again, as a feature film, it's a strange one. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment below and share the video, because those all help me in the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notifications of when new videos are uploaded. Check out my back catalogue of over 250 videos. And follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Woodley, where I tweet about TV shows and films. And I share these videos once they're uploaded to YouTube, either the day of or the day after. Thank you for joining me. Take care.